My name is Mia, and if I ever had any illusions about my place in my family, they shattered the day I stumbled across the truth about the will. It wasn't some grand revelation delivered with tears and apologies. No, it was a cold, accidental discovery that ripped the veil off years of quiet resentment. I was 32, single, and had spent the better part of my adult life holding my family together while my younger sister, Chloe, floated through hers without a care. That day, I learned the hard way that loyalty doesn't always pay. It just leaves you empty-handed. It started a few months ago, on a dreary Saturday afternoon in late October. I'd gone to my parents' house, the same crumbling two-story I'd been pouring my savings into for nearly a decade. The mortgage payments, the leaky roof repairs, the endless grocery runs, I'd done it all. Not because they asked, but because I thought it was what family did. Mom and Dad weren't exactly helpless. They had pensions and savings, but they'd always leaned on me, their responsible one, while Chloe, the baby of the family, got a free pass. She was 26, jobless, and still living in their basement, her days spent scrolling TikTok or crashing at friends' places. Meanwhile, I was the one juggling a full-time job as a graphic designer, freelancing on the side, and making sure the lights stayed on at 47 Maple Street. That day, I was there to help Mom sort through a pile of paperwork. She'd called me in a panic the night before, saying something about important documents and how she couldn't make sense of them. It wasn't unusual. Neither of my parents had ever been good with the details. So there I was, sitting at their cluttered dining table, a cup of lukewarm coffee in hand, sifting through bank statements and insurance forms. That's when I saw it. A thick manila folder tucked beneath a stack of old tax returns, labeled in my dad's shaky handwriting, estate plan and last will. I hesitated. I'm not the snooping type, but something about that folder gnawed at me. After all, I'd been the one keeping this house afloat. Didn't I deserve to know what they'd planned for it? My fingers brushed the edge of the folder, and before I could talk myself out of it, I flipped it open. The first page was standard legalese, but the second page hit me like a punch to the gut. To our daughter, Chloe Marie Evans, we bequeath the entirety of our estate, including but not limited to our home at 47 Maple Street, all financial accounts, and personal assets. My name, Mia Elizabeth Evans, was nowhere to be found. Not a mention, not a footnote, nothing. Just a vague line at the bottom about loving both our daughters equally. Equally? I almost laughed, but the sound caught in my throat, turning into something bitter and sharp. I sat there, the paper trembling in my hands as the weight of it sank in. Everything I'd done, the late nights freelancing to cover their bills, the weekends spent fixing their gutters, the years of putting their needs before mine, meant nothing. They'd chosen Chloe, the one who'd never lifted a finger, the one who'd spent her 20s partying while I played the dutiful daughter. I don't know how long I stared at that page. Minutes, maybe hours. The words blurred as my mind raced. Had they always seen me this way? A workhorse, a safety net, someone to rely on but never reward? And Chloe, what had she done to deserve this? She'd never paid a dime toward the mortgage, never offered to help with anything. She was the golden child, the one they'd coddled and excused while I was just expendable. Mia, honey, you okay? Mom's voice snapped me out of my spiral. She'd shuffled back into the room, her slippers scuffing against the hardwood. She must have seen the folder in my hands, because her eyes widened for a split second before she plastered on a smile. What's taking so long? I didn't bother hiding it. I held up the will, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. So this is it, huh? Everything to Chloe? Her face fell, but only for a moment. Then she sighed, like I was overreacting, like I'd caught her forgetting to buy my favorite cereal instead of rewriting my entire future. Mia, it's not what you think. Not what I think? I cut her off, my voice rising. It's pretty damn clear, Mom. I've been paying your mortgage for years. I've fixed this house, bought your groceries, kept you afloat. And Chloe, she does nothing. Nothing. And you're giving her everything? Dad appeared in the doorway then, his brows furrowed. Mia, lower your voice. Let's talk about this like adults. Adults? I laughed. A harsh, brittle sound. You mean the way I've been acting like an adult for the past decade while you let Chloe play teenager? Explain it to me, Dad. Tell me why she gets it all. He shifted uncomfortably, hands shoved deep in his pockets. It's complicated. Complicated? I snapped. That's your excuse? I deserve better than that. Mom stepped forward, her voice softening into that tone she used when she wanted to smooth things over. Honey, you don't need it. You've got a good job, a stable life. Chloe, she struggles. We just want to make sure she's okay. I felt something inside me break. So because I'm responsible, I get punished? Because I worked my ass off, I don't matter? And Chloe gets rewarded for being a leech? Don't talk about your sister like that, Dad said sharply. Why not? I shot back. It's the truth. She's 26, Dad. She's not a kid anymore. But you've babied her so long she doesn't even know what responsibility looks like. And now you're handing her a house I've paid for? They didn't have an answer. Mom's eyes glistened with tears, but I wasn't buying it. Dad just stared at the floor, his jaw tight. The silence stretched on, heavy and suffocating, until I couldn't take it anymore. I dropped the will on the table, grabbed my coat, and walked out. Their voices called after me. Mia, wait! But I didn't stop. The door slammed behind me, and for the first time in years, I felt the weight of their expectations lift, replaced by a cold, burning clarity. I didn't go back, didn't call, didn't text. For 2 weeks, I let them fend for themselves. No more mortgage payments, no more grocery deliveries, no more Mia to the rescue. I figured they'd get the hint, that they'd realize how much I'd been carrying them. But I underestimated how deep their denial ran. It started with a text from Dad. Property taxes are due. That was it. No, how are you? No, we're sorry. Just a blunt demand, like I was still their personal ATM. I stared at my phone, almost impressed by the audacity. They really thought I'd cave, that I'd keep playing my role after they'd made it crystal clear where I stood. I typed back, I'm sure Chloe can handle it. It's her house, right? And hit send. 5 minutes later, my phone rang. Mom. I let it go to voicemail. Then came her text. Mia, please don't be like this. We need to talk. Oh, now they wanted to talk? Now that their bills were piling up and their golden child wasn't stepping up? I waited an hour before replying. There's nothing to talk about. You made your choice. Live with it. I thought that'd be the end of it, at least for a while. But then Chloe decided to weigh in. Her text came late that night, dripping with the entitlement I'd come to expect from her. Dude, why are you being such a drama queen? It's not a big deal. Just help them out like you always do. I nearly laughed. Not a big deal? She was getting everything I'd worked for, and she had the nerve to act like I was overreacting? I fired back. No, I think you've got it covered, since you're the favorite. Step up, Chloe. Her response was instant. OMG, are you seriously mad about the will? Grow up, Mia. It's just money. Just money. The hypocrisy made my head spin. It was just money, now that it was hers to inherit. But when it was my money keeping the family afloat, it was everything. I typed, then you won't mind using some of that money to pay the mortgage, right? And waited. Silence. No reply. Then Mom texted again, pulling out the guilt card. Mia, we're your parents. Family takes care of each other. We did so much for you growing up, and now you're abandoning us. Abandoning them? I'd spent years making sure they never struggled, while they'd spent those same years enabling Chloe's laziness. I replied, You made it clear I wasn't family when you left me out of the will. Chloe can take care of you now. Dad's next text pushed me over the edge. We're not asking for much, just enough to cover the mortgage for a few months until we figure things out. Don't be selfish. Selfish! The word hit me like a slap. I'd given them everything, my time, my money, my energy, and they had the gall to call me selfish? I typed back, No, I'm done, and turned off my phone. The silence lasted a day. I thought maybe they'd finally get it, but I should have known better. The next morning, I woke up to a notification, a bank transfer request from Mom, $4,200. No message, no explanation, just a shameless demand for the exact amount of their overdue mortgage. I declined it without a second thought. 5 minutes later, Mom called. I let it ring, then her text. Mia, I know you saw the request. Why did you decline it? Because it's not my responsibility, I replied. Try Chloe. Another call. Declined. Then, we're going to lose the house if you don't help us. Maybe you should have thought about that before deciding I didn't matter, I shot back. Dad texted next. You're really going to let your parents become homeless? I laughed out loud. They weren't broke. They had savings, pensions, options. They just didn't want to use them because they were so used to me footing the bill. I ignored it. That night, Chloe texted again. Dude, just send them the money already. You're making this a bigger deal than it is. You mean the money you're inheriting? I replied. Why don't you send it? I don't have that kind of cash right now, she shot back. Guess you better figure it out then, sis. You're the one they chose. No response. I went to bed feeling a strange mix of anger and relief. For the first time, I wasn't bending over backward for them. But the next day, things escalated in a way I never saw coming. I was at work, sketching a logo for a client, when my phone buzzed. It was the front desk of my apartment building. Hey, Mia, your parents are here. I froze. What? They're saying it's an emergency. They're pretty insistent you come down. I pinched the bridge of my nose, my heart pounding. They'd shown up at my apartment, uninvited, because I wouldn't pay their bills. Don't let them up, I said. I'm not expecting them. They're being kind of pushy, the desk clerk said awkwardly. I don't care. Tell them to leave. I hung up, but my phone buzzed again. Mom, we're downstairs. Open the door. No, please. No explanation, just another demand. Then, Mia, we're not leaving until you talk to us. Fine. If they wanted a confrontation, they'd get one. I grabbed my keys and stormed downstairs, my blood boiling. I wasn't scared. I was furious. They'd crossed a line, ambushing me at my own home like I was some pushover they could guilt into submission. I yanked the door open, and there they were. Mom, Dad, and Chloe, standing like a united front. Mom had her arms crossed, her disappointed mom face on full display. Dad looked stiff, his hands in his pockets, radiating entitlement. And Chloe? She just looked annoyed, like this was all a minor inconvenience to her precious day. Finally, Mom said, her voice dripping with drama. We need to talk. No, you need to leave, I said, leaning against the doorframe. You don't get to show up here demanding money. That's insane. Dad scoffed. Are you really going to let us lose the house over some petty grudge? Petty grudge? I laughed coldly. You mean the one where you decided I was good enough to pay your bills, but not good enough to be in your will? Mom clutched her chest, gasping. Mia, that's not fair. We only did what we thought was best for the family. Best for Chloe, you mean? I said. Just say it. Silence. Thick, heavy silence. Chloe finally spoke, her tone exasperated. Look, I don't even want to be involved in this. I didn't ask for anything. I turned on her, my voice sharp. No, you just take everything handed to you. You're 26, Chloe. Get a job. You want the house? Start acting like it's yours. Her face flushed. What the hell, Mia? You heard me, I said, stepping closer. I'm done being your bank. Step up. Mom jumped in, recalibrating her guilt trip. Mia, she's your sister. Yeah, and I've supported her longer than you have, I said. You've enabled her for years, and now you're rewarding her for it. Dad's face darkened. You're being selfish, I laughed. A real bitter laugh. Selfish? I've given you everything, and you've given me nothing. Now that it's time to face the consequences, you're trying to manipulate me into fixing it. Not happening. We thought you'd be mature about this, Mom said, her voice sharp. Mature? I raised an eyebrow. You mean quietly accept that I was betrayed and keep paying your bills? That's what you wanted, right? Dad stepped forward, trying to intimidate me like he did when I was a kid. We raised you, Mia. We fed you, clothed you, gave you everything. The least you can do is help us now. I already did, I said, meeting his gaze. For years. And you repaid me by cutting me out. Mom's lip trembled. We thought you'd understand. I do, I said, my voice low. I understand I was never family, just a paycheck. Silence again. I turned to Chloe. And you? What's your excuse? You've had years to grow up, to contribute. But you didn't, because you knew they'd take care of you. And when they're gone, you expected me to step in, huh? She snapped. What do you want me to say? I didn't ask for this. Right? I said slowly. You didn't ask. You just benefited. She had no response. Mom tried one last time. Mia, we're family. Family takes care of each other. I stared at her, then said, Exactly. So why didn't you take care of me? She froze. No words. I exhaled, feeling lighter than I had in years. We're done here. I turned and walked back inside, closing the door behind me. But it didn't end there. Dad texted me as I climbed the stairs. Wow! After everything we've done, you're really abandoning us? I smirked, typing back, No, you abandoned me. I'm just accepting it. Then I blocked their numbers. I thought that was it. I was wrong. Less than a day later, I saw the Facebook posts. Mom, I didn't raise my daughter to be so selfish. True family helps each other no matter what. Dad, so-called family shouldn't turn their backs when you need them most. We gave everything to our children, and this is how we're repaid. He tagged me, adding, Hope you're happy. Then Chloe, some people think family is just about money. They don't get that it's about love and sacrifice. I'd do anything for my parents, but some people are too selfish to see that. A jab at me. I wish some people knew what family really means. I sat there, stunned. They'd turned me into the villain, the ungrateful daughter who'd abandoned her saintly family. The comments poured in, friends, relatives, strangers calling me a disappointment, a spoiled brat. It was a full-on smear campaign. I didn't react right away. I waited, letting the anger simmer until I couldn't take it anymore. I opened Facebook and wrote my truth. I've been quiet, but I can't stay silent anymore. My family's been painting me as the selfish one, the villain who won't help in their time of need. Here's the truth. I've supported them for years, paying their mortgage, fixing their house, buying their groceries, while my sister Chloe did nothing. I found out they left everything to her in their will. Not a cent for me. They say it's because I don't need it, but it's really because they've always favored her. I'm done being their doormat. Chloe's 26. It's time she stepped up. Family's a two-way street, and I've given enough. This isn't me abandoning them. It's me choosing myself. I hit post. The response was immediate. Support from friends, cousins, even some of Mom's friends who'd seen the truth. But the backlash was fierce. Chloe messaged me. You're a traitor, airing our business like this? Dad called, screaming, You'll regret this, Mia! I blocked them all. Days passed, and the weight lifted. I was free from their manipulation, their entitlement, their lies. I don't regret it. I deserve better, and now I'm living for me.